Hello, welcome here to La Token Venture Capital TV. My name is Javier Borja, and like every session, we bring you the innovation, technology, and solutions. And today, especially, we have a very interesting discussion panel about the rise of stable coins. And we have a perfect panel for this. With the gentlemen here join me, they have a lot of experience, and you're going to hear it directly from them. So please remember, you want to have any comment posted, we have any question, feel free to put it in the chat. We will address it. Remember, it's about stable coins. We're going to touch a lot of topics about it, and your questions are welcome. And as one last piece of advice, please remember anything mentioned here is not any type of financial advice. Do your research before making any decisions. It's your responsibility. With that said, gentlemen, welcome here to the show. Some familiar faces and others new. For welcome everybody. So I would like to ask each of you could just a little bit introduce yourselves. What's your background? What are you doing nowadays? What's your project for our viewers? Who would like to start? And Tony, yep.
Okay.
Tony, okay.
Hi. Thank you for that. Um, my background's in wealth management. I went into the blockchain crypto space about 6 years ago. I'm based out in Japan, and I have been focusing on the wealth side of it in regards to creation of wealth and basically preservation of it, but also been working with different projects about structuring them from a financial point of view. NFTs has now become a big part of our business, and the part of the stablecoin has become even more predominant to keep value. So my background is more finance than technology.
Thank you for that, Tony. Stefan? Sorry, you're muted.
Thanks for having me here, and great to be here. I'm Stefan Roos. I am founder of TrustedNode.io and Trueflation.com. And basically, I'm the CEO of Laguna Labs. And what we're doing is building infrastructure on top of Web3. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started off in the mobile side, competing against incumbents and regulators at the same time, then got into the software side of mobile, bringing Java virtual machines to lots of different devices around the world. And in 2012, got into Bitcoin and loved it right from the word go. The fact that you could do remittances and payments around the world for free instantaneously on a peer-to-peer to anybody in the world was brilliant. And it was so eye-opening that I got heavily involved and became the CEO of Bitcoin.com, and just launched Laguna Labs about a year and a half ago with a great team of now 40 people, launching some really interesting products coming out soon.
Thank you very much for that, Stefan. Thibault, would you like to go next?
Hello. For me, it's good afternoon. For some of you, it might be good evening, good morning. I don't know. So I'm in Brussels today, and I'm a lawyer by profession or by background. So after a banker, this is a lawyer, and I've been involved in the crypto space for more than 7 years. So I have my own firm. I advise mainly crypto entrepreneurs internationally, but I am also an entrepreneur myself because I'm involved in a few crypto projects, and I am launching now a stable coin, by the way, Payfoot, and a stable coin designed for the football industry or the football communities, and along with a crypto and our own blockchain and a football metaverse. It's an entire ecosystem that we are building around football fans. And I'm also chairman of a foundation in Belgium, a public utility foundation called UOR, for Internet of Universal Resources, which advocates for the rise of a new internet, merging TCP/IP protocol and blockchain technology. This is the so-called Web 3.0. But it's even beyond that.
Oh, beyond that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we would love to hear more about that. Honestly, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, you have to remind me to put this in a new segment.
Yeah, it's another topic. It's another topic.
Wow, okay. But I'm curious. I'll keep that in mind.
But I
Okay,
can share the foundation website so you can read the white paper. But that's another topic.
perfect. Please do. So I can
I
get
don't know
the data.
where I can share it because I have a private chat here.
If you put it in
But
private chat, then I can
in
put
the
it.
private chat? Okay.
Yes, then I can take care of that. Okay, thank you very much. So that is, I'll just put it out here right now. So just to our viewers, this is a bonus that we get. It's not the topic for today, but it's always interesting, and this is it's about this space that we have here to educate you. And there we go. It's this one, right?
Yes.
IO.
Read the white paper. Yes.
It's a white paper, and it is based actually in the web what's beyond the web point 3.0.
Yeah, you understand by reading the white paper. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, there you go, guys. Something new. We learn something new every day. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, let's go back to the topic at hand, the rise of stable coins. Now, stable coins has every day has become stronger, a term much more used. A lot of times it's in the news, especially by regulators. So we're going to touch this topic, and we have some questions prepared. But for our viewers, if they're not familiar exactly with what a stable coin, I would like just to read from Wikipedia the statement. I'll quote: "Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies where the price is designed to be pegged to a cryptocurrency, fiat money, or to exchange traded commodities." So that is the definition now. Now that we have a little bit, I think all the viewers also have an understanding of it. The question is, what are they good for? How can they be used? Who would like to address this question?
Stable coins are brilliant, right? I mean, from my perspective, they have provided one of the best user experiences beyond peer-to-peer payments for everybody, and has allowed a lot of people to come in to crypto. And what is that user experience? Stability. So in the end, volatility is crypto's dream. We all love it because it goes up, it goes down. We know when to buy low, we sell high. But in the essence, when you're actually purchasing goods, when you're trading goods, you want to be able to relate that to an actual cost item that you know and are very comfortable with. And 9 times out of 10, historically, that is the fiat environment that we live in, or a US dollar or a euro or Japanese yen, whatever that currency is. And so we've been able to take the volatility of crypto and be able to tie that to a environment and a currency that we use on a day-to-day basis, and historically have done so most of our lives. At the same time, it is also providing liquidity to the market. So immediate transfer into all of these exchanges between a cryptocurrency and a stable coin. And that has really accelerated to now maybe, I don't know, $6 trillion, I think last year was the overall trading of stable coins, the value that was transacted between currencies and stable coins amongst peer-to-peers.
Stefan, you as not much of a crypto entrepreneur, but like more as an everyday person.
Yep.
How have you used recently a stable coin?
So I use it, I pay my staff salary, example, every month.
Me too.
I pay.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All our partners, all the companies we work with, from developers through to auditors, the only person I haven't yet managed to convince is my utility company that's providing the Wi-Fi or the electricity. So I still have to pay them in fiat. So unfortunately.
Yeah. Yet.
Can I add, just because I think it's a very good introduction, I would add 2 elements to it, or 3, maybe 3 elements: speed and cost, because it's super speedy. Depending, of course, on the protocol you are using, it can be speedier in some, or less costly, depending on the protocol you are using. If you're using Ethereum, of course, it's not the same as using another protocol, without mentioning anyone. And so speed and cost. And the other element, which is super important for those who want to invest in cryptos, it's a refuge. It's in times of volatility and crisis, in the crypto space. It's a very good refuge because you can take a refuge in your stable coins by waiting for the storm to pass.
Definitely. That is true. That's one topic I wanted to touch on. Because, Tony, you being a banker, a wealth manager, also so was I. Remember the days you had to make a SWIFT, or still now, you had to make a SWIFT transfer, right? And you're in Europe and you had to send it, let's say, to Mexico. And US dollars, it had to pass through the reserve, through New York, to be cleared. And there's like the due diligence from the sender bank, from the receiver bank, and from the intermediary bank. It takes you easily 2 weeks, right?
It is, and I think the stable coin is the merger between the digital cryptocurrency and the fiat world, and I think this is where it merges together. This is where the traditional finance is coming towards the crypto, and I think it's been the big bridge between the two sides. And as you said, okay, this transfers used to take weeks to do, due diligence, and then trying to follow it up. It's time, as Xavier has said as well. It's just like it is basically about time, and Theobald said the same thing. It's all about time. And as for wealth managers and everything like that, it's volatility is good, okay? But we human beings are determined by two emotions, which is greed and fear, okay? So whichever one kicks in, okay, we need the ability to move to preserve our wealth or to protect our wealth. We have the ability to have stability. And the stable coin has been one of the biggest movements to actually see this marketplace taking a more professional approach because more traditional investors are able to take profit and see the money in real terms, and I use that very loosely. So
I think one crucial part of this stable coins is, and we'll come back to this in the investment part, but currently I think using a stable coin is sort of your point of market entry to invest in cryptos. Like Thibault, you and Stefan said that you pay employees in stable coins, right? Well, usually if the employees are already in the crypto world, chances that they would like to invest. So they receive the USDT or any other stable currency. Instead of converting it, they would just probably purchase more crypto assets. And that's the easiest thing, because at the moment, if you want to open in a crypto exchange company an account, you have to link your bank account, and only from that bank account, no third-party payments. It's a little bit of a hassle. The easiest thing is to get a stable coin, and there you go directly into purchasing your favorite cryptocurrency, which leads me to a second point. Can you invest in stable coins? What is your opinion? Who wants to take
From my
this one?
point of view, you look at investing into stable coins, then you look at Forex, okay? That's how I would look at it. It's just like putting any money into cash in a portfolio. If you're looking at it from that side, you're looking at it from a Forex point of view. But also there's a lot of protocols and there's a lot of systems out there where you can put the money on deposit like you would traditionally in a bank and actually get returns. So it just depends on what your goals is and what you want from this. But I do believe you can actually invest the stable coins, but you have to actually do something with it. Making it sit in your account won't do anything.
So that's basically then you're saying that stable coins are a vehicle or the medium to which you can actually invest, but it's not an investment itself.
It's exactly like cash. Okay, you can leave the cash in your bank account. It doesn't bring you anything. Okay, so you have to make that money work. You have to put it on deposit. You have to do something to actually put it into a bond to get a return. It's the same thing with stable coins. It's not a magic vehicle that actually brings the returns for you. You actually have to make it and allocate it accordingly.
So if you think about it, most stable coins are pegged to a fiat currency, right? So to a US dollar, Japanese yen, euro, whatever the currency is. And in principle, I'd say no, it's not a good idea to invest in stable coins. Why? Because stable coins are tied to that fiat currency, which, by the way, these days is suffering inflation in every single economy, right? You've got maybe 6% official inflation, but in real terms, you're looking more like 12, 15% inflation in a lot of these markets. And so based on that, and that's why we launched trueflation.com, to be able to take a developer's approach in providing real insight in terms of what inflation could really look like. And if it's 12%, that means over the year, your $1 that you own, $100, is going to be 12% less than it was when you first started off in the year. So is that a good investment? I'd say spend it fast or invest it in something else.
Okay, invest it. Yeah,
exactly. You have to do action to do something with it. As you said, leaving it there, it will just die. Okay, it's like anything on the universe. You have to have energy into it, or else it will just die. It's like us human. That's the only thing that connects every single thing in the universe is energy. So you actually have to do something with it, or it will die. And exactly as you said, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. If you know, to be very practical, if I take, for instance, most of my associates in my company that are being paid in stablecoins, they do two things with it. No, they do three things. First, sometimes they cash out, of course, because they need to have some fiat for some reason, they cash out. The second thing they do is that because they receive most of the time on MetaMask, the stable coins, they swap it, or part of it. They swap it, super easy. You swap it for a number of cryptos that they like, there are many of them, super easy. They swap it. And the third thing they do, many of them go to crypto.com. I should not mention anyone, and others. And because they have a yield on the stablecoins they would never get from any bank. And now the problem is, and that I take my legal hat here, is that there are many legal problems relating to stablecoin that are not being solved today. And the first and obvious is that it's so easy, to transfer and pay someone with a stable coin, for instance, with MetaMask, that many companies doing it in the crypto space, they do not issue any invoices. And so, okay, so far so good, I would say, because it's very difficult for a tax administration to control a decentralized wallet. But it's tricky because once you go to a centralized exchange, more and more of the exchanges now are under pressure. There are a lot of pressure by regulators to disclose some information about the customers, and so it might end up to we might end up to a point where it might cause some problems for those who have not declared the payments to the tax administration. So we have to keep that in mind.
That's a big issue. And thank you. Well, just to close this question, something interesting and in easy words was put on Next Advisor, the webpage. It says stable coins, I'm going to quote, stable coins are used as a niche currency in the crypto world and don't make for great investments. They're better suited for digital transactions and converting digital assets to and from real money. So that's basically what you gentlemen said. And I actually agree. I agree with that. As Tony said, you have to move it. It's just a vehicle for reaching an investment. And now, Thibault, I have to ask you to put back on your legal hat, because obviously comes the interesting part. Great tool. All the users love it. It's a solution for a problem, but also there are some issues happening, legal issues and regulatory issues. The stronger the stable coins become, the more wary.
I don't think they're legal issues particularly. I think they're more regulatory issues, right? And if you look at the situation, a lot of the central banks are also the authority that's deciding quantitative easing, that's printing the money, and can do so on behalf of their population, they say, but they've never asked us. They don't ask us about how they print the money, and they have no regard on how they print the money. And it goes through intermediaries, their bank channels. And so the population doesn't see any of that. And I think largely the great thing is they're also looking at stable coins, by the way. They call it CBDC, central bank digital currency. So they have their own stable coin. So I think from a regulatory standpoint, it's brilliant, because now all of a sudden the crypto stable coins have an alternative and a bit of competition at the CBDCs. And that competition provides the users, e.g. a population of any network nation or nation state, the decision, can I use CBDC or shall I use my own, USD Tether or USDC or whatever? So,
but if Stefan, one question here: I think probably this will be the first time in history that a central bank has a competition.
Exactly.
Obviously, them liking to have the power and the control, won't they try to a little bit stop it? Won't the SEC come in and just put barriers?
They are already, right? They are all the time, every day. And we've had 5-10 years of them trying to do that. You've had that look at China. China's banned every other cryptocurrency and have launched the e-yuan, right? And so the banks are always trying to do that.
Can I just intervene here, because this is not the right way to phrase the question. It's not the first time there is a competition with central banks. It's not the first time. It's been 20 years that we've had competitors of central banks, and you call them payment service providers, and you call them e-money, electronic money issuers. It's not the first time. PayPal, yes, PayPal is a competitor of banks and central banks, but they have something in common. All of them, there's something in common. They are all centralized. And so the real competition comes from the decentralization, for obvious reasons, because you don't have a point of entry in terms of regulation like you have for the rest of the guys. So when we are talking about stable coins, that's the first distinction we must make. Many of those guys, stable coins, they are centralized, they are issuers. And so the temptation of the regulators to treat them exactly the same way as the other guys, the regulated guys, is strong. And you see that in the United States. In the United States, even more than in Europe, in the United States, there's this very strong pressure to submit the stablecoin issuers to real banking, hardcore banking regulations. You have less that in Europe, where there is no proposed regulation where you can be a stablecoin issuer and be under a similar regulation as electronic money regulation, which is less strict and less heavy than banking regulations. But question mark concerning decentralized stablecoin. Question mark. DAI and the other projects that are purely decentralized with crypto as collateral, and whether you have no issuers, that's the big question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I remember last year, Tether, USDT, obviously the biggest stable coin, they went through an audit last year. And that audit, it was done through, I don't remember which was the auditor, but it was one of the big multinationals. When that came out, the regulators came with a lot of buts. It was not clear for them exactly where were the assets in Tether. What did they actually invested in order to say that, yes, one USDT is pegged to one US dollar. So the basic conclusion was beware. They can't forbid it, obviously, but they were beware of this. I wouldn't put my money into it. But that, I think we can see an example of a regulator who's a little bit trying not to stop the competition, but using their ways into
it's an interesting. I was going to say you're talking about about this first time the stable coin from a centralized point of view. I was going to throw in the Dutch East India Company, even going back further. Yeah, it's basically. This is nothing new from a historical point of view, okay? This is just a different format. And what you just said about the audit of Tether, okay? We saw during the financial crisis how the audit of the banks is, okay? And I always give the example of everybody believes the bank holds their money, okay, but it's just digitally on screen. I always say, have you actually gone to the bank and say, Mr. Bank Manager, please show me my money, okay? Mr. Bank Manager will go, no, or will say, I need time to do it, yeah? But the thing is, okay, no money is out there. Money is about fractional. It's all about trust. It's all about the infrastructure, okay? So when an audit of an asset of Tether stating they don't know where the money is and stuff like that, if they use the same, how can I say, rules to audit the banks, okay, the financial system would disappear as we know it today, okay? So the part of it, the stable coins is being used, and it's because the people believe in it, it is working, okay? And it's the will of the people will make it work. And if you look at the US dollar, that is what it says, okay? It's we the people, okay, the people decide, and this is what's happening now around the world, okay? The people are deciding, we believe in this is what we're moving towards, and people don't like losing control, okay? And the problem is they do not adapt to survive. These people have had it for a long time. We're talking about legal issues. There's more issues with the banking regulations and banking regards money laundering and everything like that than anything else, okay? So from my point of view, the stable coins is here to stay. It's just we just have to play by the rules of the regulators and keep on building upon it. Yeah, the regulators will take years to catch up because they're on catch up. By the time they look at regulating what's now, it's already evolved and keep on going. And that's the exciting thing about digital assets. It evolves with the times and with the demands of the marketplace.
That is really true. When I conduct like different interviews with different projects, I always ask them the question, can you give me a forecast? Where would your project be in the next 3 years? And everybody's like, hell knows. I can hardly expect what's going to happen the first year due to technology, market circumstances, regulators. Just as you said, we don't really know what's happening in the future because everything is changing so fast. And obviously regulators are not able to adapt.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Can I add something
please.
to what you said? Because I totally concur with what you are saying, and it's super important to understand this because I am also a teacher, professor in a business school in France, and I'm so astonished by the lack of knowledge of my students concerning how the financial and monetary system really works. And I'm talking about students in finance here. They are never being taught about how it really works. The central banks, the way the money is created, they have no clue. It's as if it was kept in secret for some reason. And the truth is that our financial money is made of thin air. It's a fact. And there is no correlation between the money and any kind of real value. It's magic money. It's magic money. It's you know how money is being made is when you ask for a loan at your bank, the bank gives you money. That's the loan, and it's when the money is created out of thin air. It's just a code, a line of code on a computer. It's not backed by any value, and that's the paradox of the situation, where you demand from the stable coin guys more than you demand from banks, because you ask them for backing the money where there is no backing in the financial and the banking system.
Yeah.
But so the key question is, okay, but what is your asset you are using for backing the money? Because if you are using the magic money created by the central bank, it's the vicious circle. So I do not believe in the long term, not today, of course. I do not believe in the viability of stablecoin which are backed only by one currency like dollar. I think in the long term, it won't be sustainable. And market is coming with stablecoins backed by gold, by commodities, by a basket of currencies.
What do you think about those?
No. That's more interesting.
Of course,
so you think
crypto, or backed by crypto, of course, or backed by crypto. That's also the future, of course.
I totally concur. The situation is, okay, you're talking about people not knowing about history and stuff like that. I always advise people to look at a TV show, a book, okay, by Niall Ferguson. Okay, he's a British professor. It's The Ascent of Money. Okay, it's one of the most great documentary of where money has come from and to where money is. Okay, I would advise anybody that doesn't know about it to watch it. It gives the grassroots of the monetary system. And exactly like you said, we're talking about, we don't live in countries anymore. We live on the internet, okay? And as such, we should stop thinking that we live in countries, okay? I'm a perfect example. I'm based in Tokyo. I am in the UK. I go to the US, okay? My world is the digital world and the physical world, the whole world. And as such, we should look at stable coins as the same. We should look at it as a global stable coin, okay? Okay, before anybody starts messaging about one world and all the conspiracies and stuff like this, okay, it's just more from a monetary point of view that we have to look at it from the US dollar, the yen, the euro, the trading currencies, because these are the ones that are the biggest problems, but also we have to use them at the moment because these are what is being used. And I totally agree that there has to be a more diverse approach towards dollar to gold and Bitcoin and everything like that, because this is where we're moving towards.
Okay, thank you for that. And definitely, I think there will be certain issues that it will face in the future from the regulatory point of view. And we can expect that, right? Right, Stefan? I think you agree with it.
No doubt about it. I mean, we will have lots of clashes. I mean,
And
I wouldn't be surprised to see in one nation somewhere around the world where they want to try and confiscate your wallet and your phone, right?
We're a little bit seeing that, aren't we? Because like China already forbid it. India might be there. There's Russia that also show up somewhere in the news that it will not be you can't trade anymore. So the big countries, the big economies are already like taking that step. Who knows what's going to happen? And I wouldn't be surprised that their central bank comes up with their own national token, as you said. But then again, that's
everybody else, and then we'll issue our own, and everybody has to use it because.
But isn't that a little bit like killing the competition?
Oh, for sure, it's monopolies at best. And isn't there a rule somewhere in the EU, especially, or even in the US, that it's about the abuse of your power? And if you have more than 20% market share and you abuse your power, that is what is determined as being monopolistic actions. And that should be then broken up and not allowed, right? And so in theory...
before there was blockchain, I remember probably already like 18 years ago, there was a company in the US called eGold. eGold, basically to one, eGold would be, their own currency would be pegged to 1 ounce of gold. And it became really like a big thing in the US and international people were putting money until the US came with a cease and desist order. And that was the end of it. And that's why when blockchain came, and first time I think when was it, in 2012 when I got in touch with Bitcoin, like, I don't think they was last. They're gonna kill it. One cease and desist order and that's it. But
I think that's changing, right? So the US has been predominantly the world's financial powerhouse, right? They dictate all the financial rules. They've instilled their rules onto all the banks worldwide. And now if you look at the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. or in New York is waning in power, right? Washington is no longer that central powerhouse. You're seeing countries desert and have a different opinion. Even in the US, Miami has its own Miami coin, right? So they've said, we build our own coin. I don't need your approval to do that. I'm my own state. Arizona, we legalize Bitcoin. Everybody can do Bitcoin mining. Why? Because it creates jobs, it creates energy, it creates value to their ecosystem, and they can, of course, tax it, obviously. I think that's maybe part of the reason. Texas, all the miners from China have moved to Texas because there's so much sun there. And so they've all moved, and all the oil there. And so they've all moved there. So Texas is I'm not going to shut it down. So
Or-
also a bit of a different
Yeah.
ball game now, right?
Or also, I've read a lot of people from the US in the crypto, they're moving to Puerto Rico.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
and why? Because they don't
Yeah,
want
that's a different topic, but
Yes. Let's not open that bag of squirrels. Yes.
not now, at least not now. Okay, that leads me to a.
But funny thing is, Texas has no state tax. Florida has no state tax, and those are the ones that have been most friendly to crypto. So
Yep.
that's interesting. I didn't, so
Yes.
think about
And I
that.
literally just came from those 2 locations last week, and it's very, very buoyant. I was in Austin, Texas, and it was so many people, so much energy. Okay, and it was quite interesting talking to the people. They were talking about how the United States is basically going backwards. Okay, it became a nation of different states, okay, just like Europe did. Okay, and as such now it's the opposite. The states are actually going back to looking after themselves, okay, because there's no more belief in the central system. So it's basically, you can either complain or you can find a solution. It's either one or the other. This is life. Yeah? And I have to look at this, and this is basically very, very important, is basically the miners and everybody's moving because they give the infrastructure to stay. And I also have Dubai. Dubai is the same. Dubai is offering people, and they're coming there in droves, okay? So if you set up the system, they will come.
Lisbon in Europe is the same. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, how open and the vibrancy that it's created, the import of talent, the creation of requirements towards infrastructure, the whole services industry to support that talent that has moved there. I mean, it's been very impressive how actually a change in mindset from actually just being lazy and bloated and just taxing people to all of a sudden, actually, let's figure out how we can do this slightly different and be an attractive proposition to get the talent. So all of a sudden, competition between cities and nations is happening, which is actually really interesting to see.
It
is so true.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it's the same in London. Okay, I was there yesterday. Okay, London's taking the approach London's always gone. It is like, do what you want. Okay, just don't do anything crazy, or then we have to actually do something about it. But it's the same thing. The city has become alive again. It's buoyant. It's exciting. And for me, it is like, if you look at the news everywhere, there's no thing. COVID is killing everything. Yeah, innovation is alive. Okay, you provide the infrastructure, it will grow. And it's like anything. You give it energy, and then it will become its own ecosystem. And it's exciting. Okay, we live in a time where everything is moving at such speed. Okay, either we embrace it and go with it, or we get left behind and thinking, oh, I should have done this.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally. And I think that just proves how the economies have flourished by allowing this innovation to happen, right? The blossoming, the mobile, the attitudes, the approach, the infrastructure that's come around that, the jobs it's created, right? And ultimately, money is here to facilitate that trade. Right? I mean, that's what really it was. So rather than having lots of legal requirements and forms to fill out in order to do a transaction, why don't we make it easier? And that way we can hire more and more people instead of people just, we'll fill out this form again, right? And so, I mean,
Exactly. And the thing is, okay, I also believe the COVID has created a huge shift in mentality, okay? Because in Japan, for instance, people believe the government would look after them from cradle to the grave. This is what the whole ecosystem has been built on, okay? But during the COVID, with all the lockdowns and everything like that, there was no furlough there. There was no payments towards staff, okay? You lost, that was it, yeah?
Wow.
So this is the situation, okay? In Europe was slightly different, but I still believe the whole Europe, UK, you know what I mean, okay? I just thought I'd throw that in there just in case, okay? But the whole situation, the mentality is, okay, trusting the government, okay? People have become less trustworthy of them because they want to look after themselves. They want to make sure that they can feed the family, they're basically the community. This is where the mindset has changed, okay? Which either the central governments have to change, okay, or they have to embrace it, or else there will be more and more protests and more people going against the system, as we say.
So it's interesting. I was watching, a key influence. I had a conversation with them, and they did a survey of 500 on Instagram and Facebook. It's online, so I mean, take it how you will. But 500,000 people responded to that survey. 80% did not trust their governments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 80%. That's like super high. I mean, I was astounded by how high that was.
It is. If you just look at how much people vote, okay, and you look at the demography, the people that have access to the web, okay,
Yep.
trust the government less, okay.
Yep.
Look at it what you will because of influencing and targeting and all that kind of data. But this is the shift, okay. This is the shift of the mentality where people get information, how people process it. I do believe that kind of statistic is scary, okay. And the thing is, it is not going to improve with regulations and rules, okay. It's only going to improve by embracing how this society lives, okay, by embracing the digital, by embracing this kind of communication, okay. I always go back to what I know is like you have government agencies trying to do this and think because they have Instagram, they're modern. It's like, hey, you're 10 years too late. Yeah, you need to do something better now. Yeah. So
amazing.
What you said right now reminds me of some of the presidents in South America. They have a Twitter account and they believe already they're high tech. Interesting. What also like talk about the future stable coins. One of the regions, Latin America, it's huge. A lot of creative people, but there you can't even find a crypto license there. Not very crypto friendly. Only El Salvador, which was the one to step out and go against everything, and they actually put Bitcoin as a national currency of their own.
Yeah.
But if you see that comparing to Europe, just recently Poland launched their own regulated license for crypto exchange, and I think Slovakia is doing the same. Mm-hmm. So all these countries are really I think it's a healthy competition.
Yeah.
It's
but
really
I believe the next one, okay, you can look at Europe, you can Latin America, but I have allocated from a company point of view and from a personal point of view, Africa, okay? We're talking about a continent that is going to embrace digital currency like no other, okay? We're talking about a nations where more people have mobile phones than banking and anything else, okay? Nigeria, for instance, okay, it's one of the most populated countries in the world, one of the most assets-rich countries in the world. It's basic. I can't remember. It's on Google search. It's the second most searched about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This is where I believe the next movement in crypto will be from Africa, because you have nations where their currency is restricted. Cryptocurrency gives them freedom, okay? Europe, America, it's not as much, okay? But in Africa, it's really, really, really regulated. Same as Indonesia, where cryptocurrency is flourishing, where the currency is basically is held back and people can't do what they want. So this is where I believe the stable coins is becoming much more apparent, because people want to swap their traditional currencies to something they can trade.
But where is that inflection point in all of that, right? I mean, we all we hear the surveys, 80% of people are unhappy with their governments. You hear about the conflict, the difficulties in Africa with all these nations in Indonesia, the frustration in certain other developed markets. But where does it get to a point where the central governments in all of these nations actually say, we're here representing the population, not just our own central interests. We're here representing the population. And when does that shift? Does the population have to become revolutionaries in order for it to shift? Does the government automatically recognize in the next election, gee whiz, we really need to do something about crypto and change around the way we have to allow more fluidity between money and the population? Or how do you see that evolving? I mean, that's the future, right? I mean, where's this future going? Are we going to run into clashes like they have in Canada now, with the anti-vaccinations? in a lot of these countries, and now people are really upset.
You don't need to make a revolution.
Yeah.
You know, the thing which is happening is more on hide and seek play. And a revolution is when you have no choice to escape, you know, an abusive government, but to become violent. We don't need to be violent here. We just
No,
have
but revolution isn't necessarily violent, right? I mean, aren't we already? Aren't we already in a revolution? I mean, I've been in a revolution for my 8 years in crypto, right? So
okay, so it's a silent revolution.
Yeah, I think it's a different type of revolution, right? But
Okay.
when does it become a tipping point? When does Ethereum become more important than the UK government? When does Bitcoin become more important than the US government? When does, you know, sort of when does that shift happen? Facebook already has 300 million.
I will tell you
people?
something. I will tell you something about this. There is one very easy thing that can make a very big shift.
Okay.
Is when, and that's why I say revolution is not necessary, is when the crypto space will stop using fiat, because that's the only problem today we have, is that correlation between crypto and fiat. Of course, the only way today the governments can regulate is on the bridges between crypto and fiat. If you don't have the bridges anymore, the governments are in the dark forever. They are in the dark forever. And that's because, and between you and me, is because there is so much amount of greediness. Let's be frank. Let's be honest. Okay, let's be honest. It's because there is so much amount of greed or greediness about I have crypto money, not, or cryptocurrency, not because I care about the revolution, but because I care about my own wallet and profit. And the people are so attached to make profits that they can calculate in dollars that there are regulatory problems. If the tipping point where the crypto community will be able to be autonomous and detached from the fiat world, that's going to be the revolution.
You mentioned the bridge between fiat and crypto. That is, if we go back to the very beginning with Stefan, you said you use it for almost everything except you can't pay your electricity, your gas, your water, public services, and then you're still depending actually on fiat for those things. So yeah, eventually there is.
I started. I mean, when I first started, I couldn't have that extent of payments outside of crypto. I mean, the first payment I did was paying a software developer in Guatemala, and it was maybe a tiny portion of my business. And then I offered my staff the ability to accept expenses reimbursement in crypto. And so it started step by step, right? And now 9 years in, or I'm in my 9th year now, all of a sudden, the only fee I cannot pay is for my physical, you know, survival in the real world, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just making sure I can get internet and electricity, right? And that's unfortunately the only thing, but it's come so far. The revolution has taken it so much that I don't need crypto anymore, and everybody's paying me in stablecoin and crypto.
I will tell you something about this, which is interesting to know, is that, you know, today one of the key problems.
It's like,
excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry if I interrupted you. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
No. I live it, so I love hearing it. Yes.
Is you know, one of the key problems of the crypto space when you want to be by the book, right, with the governments, is that you have to pay sometimes taxes in fiat, right? And there are so many projects that failed just because they had to pay. They realized they had to pay VAT, right? And but the VAT, you have to pay it not in crypto. You have to pay it in fiat to the governments. So many projects failed because of that. So the solution would be that the governments could accept being paid in crypto, and why not? And so people say, well, you are so naive. No, I'm not so naive. You know, there are precedents. I'm not talking about Salvador or Switzerland. There are exceptions, but I'm talking about notorious situation, like in France, for instance. In France, they have what they call a fortune tax. Fortune tax, a tax you have to pay when you are very rich, right? But the problem is that it's calculated based on assets you might have that might not be liquid.
Yeah.
So imagine that you have a painting of a very famous painter.
Yeah.
It's worth a fortune, but you don't have any cash. So how do you do to pay your tax? And then by miracle, the government say, okay, I accept you give me your painting as a way to pay the taxes. So it shows that if the governments want to accept as taxes something else as fiat, they can do it.
Yeah.
So at some point they will have no choice. I think it's going to be a transitory period.
I agree. It's also the size of the market. We're talking about the whole crypto market being a couple of $1 trillion in value. Okay, that is not even the size of Apple. Okay, we're talking about a market that is tiny compared to the global marketplace. But also, when we talk about the crypto market, we talk about the crypto market globally. Okay, but from a government point of view, it's very hard for them to see how big it is in their country and stuff like that. So I believe we're probably at least 5 years away before this is something where it would be in government hands, okay, or they'll come up with a solution or a way for this to be a way out or a solution from our point of view. I don't believe we're there yet. I don't believe in the revolution. Okay, I believe we adapt. Okay, we're adapting. Okay, and I look at this from a fiat point of view. We still have cash. Okay, we still have checks. We still have digital banking. It's just the different layers that we're adding to the system. Okay, and as time goes by, the amount that is being used in certain sections will dwindle and will grow in other places. And that is where we are, because we have different people, different age people, people that don't understand crypto. So trying to get a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old to understand how to do crypto is very, very hard. But to the people that have been brought up with computers and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I tend to disagree with you 100%. You haven't been through the fighting, the battles, the CIA interrogations, the banking shutting you down, cutting you out of the system when you're trying to build a business in crypto land. I've had banks shut down my bank accounts, block all my money from taking out my hard-earned cash. I can't touch it because you have crypto in the name of your business. Sorry, bank shut down. KYC, 50,000 documents from 300 years ago. You have to accumulate. So there's been a battle, whether we like it or not. It's all been quiet and silent. There's been no violence. There's been no bloodshed, but there's been a lot of lawyer fees back and forth in terms of trying to do it. And largely because 90% of the countries out there still have not classified what is a digital asset. How do you quantify a digital asset? Portugal still has not defined what digital asset is. Hong Kong hasn't. And from a digital asset, when you start a new crypto project like you are, Payfoot, when you first started, there was nothing there. It's a piece of paper. And now all of a sudden, you're trying to list it on LA Token, and then it has a value. But all before that, there's no asset that is there. And so that's been a big tussle, and there has been a big revolution between how do we tax that? Are you entitled to do that? And then now where it's so valuable, all of a sudden it becomes, let's try and figure out.
No, it's not exaggerated to say that it's a battle. I think it is.
Yeah.
And the amount of violence exercised by the system against crypto entrepreneurs can be huge. And it's still going on. It's still going on in many countries. That's true.
Yeah, look at Brad, Ripple and the SEC. They're still fighting it out like really hard, right?
Yeah,
same in
Then you
Japan.
have Gary Gensler, who's let's face it. I think he's just a very power-hungry individual in a very powerful position.
Yeah, and you could just see it reflected in the banks. Some banks, your local banks, will say, "Oh, you're receiving crypto transfers." No, I'm sorry, we can't do that.
Yeah,
or
not only can't do that, we have to shut down your bank account, right? We block you because now we need to know where all your funds historically have come from, I mean, it's been really, you've had lots of battles. I mean,
and Thibault, going back to the other financial institutions you mentioned, the EMIs, the PSPs, all these electronic wallets, they don't really like to accept crypto transfers because they're actually depending on a bank to receive a SWIFT transfer, unless they have contact, they have their own IBAN number to a central bank. But still, crypto is still represented for the bank's eyes as a high risk industry.
Did those e-money providers have similar problems? Did they have a lot of legal problems as well and challenges when they launched?
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah. It's still if you are, is ironically in, I think it's Lithuania, you can get an electronic money institution, okay, and then if you don't, you will need a bank account for that, and the local banks will not accept it. So you have to go around the area, Estonia, Latvia, to get a bank account for your newly created institution. Obviously, pay the lawyer. He does it for you. It's his whole kind of mechanism.
Lithuania is a very interesting jurisdiction for stable coins, because in Lithuania, that's the only country in Europe where, as an EMI, you can be directly affiliated with the central bank of Lithuania as if you were a bank. Because that's in practice, one of the main problems I'm facing as a lawyer for my clients is that if you team up with a PSP for you or an EMI for the issuance of your stablecoin, the EMI depends on the bank because you cannot be affiliated with a central bank. So you need a bank account as an EMI with a bank, and the bank can cut the bank account if they don't like your activities. So if they are related to crypto, it happens very often, and so that's why Lithuania is so interesting, because it's starting now. I know a couple of EMIs in Lithuania. They team up with crypto projects, and they don't have that Damocles sword on their heads coming from banks. So they have more freedom to cooperate with the crypto space. So that's why Lithuania is interesting.
Interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate Stefan, Thibault, Tony. Thank you very much for being here. It was really fantastic. I really enjoyed it. We are over time, almost by 20 minutes. That's how much I enjoyed it. So all the three of you, I would really love to have you again for another show. So thank you very much. Thank you for our viewers. We started receiving some questions, but unfortunately we're out of time. We will address them next time. I truly appreciate your honesty, your enthusiasm, especially to educate our customers and to learn from you that you are using Stefan's words in the battlefield. You know what's happening. So very much appreciated for that, gentlemen. And again, to our viewers, thank you very much. Please get in touch with us and stay safe and have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.